Hi. When you're working with your students at home practicing reading, a great tool are these little decodable books that come home every few weeks. When reading these decodable books with your children, keep in mind they've had multiple opportunities at school to read this at school, so they should be very familiar with it. They should be able to recognize all of the words in this book because they're either high frequency words, which are words we have practiced and they should know by heart, or they're words that are decodable, that they should be able to stop, blend out, and read. So let's take a look at an example of some of the things we could do to help support our children when reading at home. The first thing we want to mention is it's important to sit side by side. So when they're looking at the story and you're looking at the story, you're seeing the same thing. This will allow you to check for a couple of things. One, we want to make sure when the students are reading, they're tracking what's read. An example of that would look like this. Max and Sam see a dog. When tracking, it's a good way for the kids to slow down, make sure they're reading each word that is on the paper and not transposing words. Oftentimes, students will say, Max and Sam see the dog, trading out the for a. Whereas that doesn't change the meaning of the sentence, it is an error and it will affect their overall fluency, and moving forward, it just kind of can create a bad habit. So when reading, sit side by side, watch as they track, make sure they're not leaving any words out, make sure they're not transposing any words, and if they do, stop and make the correction and have them reread the sentence from the beginning. Another great tip when reading is if a student comes to a word they don't know. For example, if they don't know this word, instead of saying it for them, make them stop and blend. So they would say dog. You don't want to give them the word, we want them to work for it and be able to practice that decoding skill that we talked about in the previous video. So, want to make sure the students are tracking, we're correcting errors, we're sounding out words we don't know, and the last thing that is really important is for you to check for understanding of what's read. It's not just about making sure they can recall the words on the page, we also want to make sure they're understanding what they're reading. So you can ask questions like, what did Max and Sam see? Where were Max and Sam at in the story? What do you think will happen next? What happened first? Just those general questions that any of us can think up that are just checking for comprehension to make sure the students are understanding what is read. It's also a good idea as the students have practiced, after they've practiced reading it to you, have them read it to a pet or a stuffed animal or a sibling. That continued practice with reading will just build their overall confidence. It's also important too that we go back and when they reread those stories later, it's cool for them to get to see the growth they've made. You'll be excited to see it too, but that internal excitement that the kids have, the pride that they have when they can go back and read it with ease, just helps build that confidence in reading and just gives them that motivation to keep wanting to do more and read more. Hope this helps.